In my hands, I'm holding one of the most profound books in science, On the Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. This book has changed the way we see nature and thus we see ourselves. Now, how many students actually read science textbooks today? Not a lot. Actually, students can go from year 7 to year 13 without reading any significant scientific text at all, let alone reading the whole entire book. Unfortunately, reading is a neglected activity in today's science lessons because a lot of teachers don't see reading as an important part of science education. Little time, if any, is set aside for planning or reading science textbooks. They're only used when a teacher is off sick and the supply teacher wants to have a quiet lesson. Or worst of all, science textbooks are set as a punishment when students misbehave. So the students have a connection between reading a science textbook and as a punishment. Now, I have had many heated discussions with science teachers about reading. Unfortunately, a lot of science teachers don't see reading as an important part of science lesson. They see science more as a practical subject, as something that is a hands-on for the kids. Unfortunately, I think that we are doing the biggest disservice to our kids when we think in that way. The majority of my kids, they don't have the luxury of having books at home all the time. So if they can't read in the lesson, they're not going to read anywhere else. So it's important for me as a science teacher to teach them in the lesson how to read science books. As a science teacher, I have two aims for my students. For those who can become the future scientist, I want to give them the best opportunities of becoming one. And I consider reading as the biggest and best gift I can give to my students. Working scientists read journals on average 5 hours a week. For them, reading is as important as an actual research. Without the accumulated knowledge of all the scientists before them, they would find it very hard to do any work at all. My second aim for my students is for those who are not going to become scientists. I would like them to enjoy science lessons, but what I really want them to become is active citizens in society, to be part of the society. And science is a big part of our society. Today we're confronted by a lot of issues like global warming, GM food, and biodiversity, and all what's happening to our planet. And it's all related to science. The large percentage of population gets their information about science from the media. So the ability to read science carefully, critically, and with a healthy skepticism is a key element of scientific literacy. Moreover, it is a prerequisite of citizenship and playing a part in a democracy. In both cases, reading is paramount importance, regardless of whether my students ever become scientists or not. What happens in our classrooms today will neither create the great scientists that this country, or in fact the world needs. Over 90% of students reading in the classroom occurs in bursts lasting less than 30 seconds because of what I call the cult of the holy PowerPoint and worksheets. The only reading our students do is from a PowerPoint presentation or a worksheet. Now, is that what we call reading? What has happened to finding a book, opening it, and being captivated for hours by it? When was the last time when we had students coming into the classroom excited to tell us about a science book that he or she has read? What we teachers need to do is consciously bring reading back into our classroom. We need to read to our students as well as having them engage in independent reading. We need to become storytellers. We need to read the story of the science and the people behind it. We need to bring back the magic of books in science. The day a student comes to my lesson and is holding a book in their hands, it's the day when I'm going to have a smile on my face and I would think that I have accomplished my goal as a teacher. I would be the happiest man alive on that day. But I'm not going to retire at that point, maybe later.